How can I forget that? Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome live to the best podcast you have ever listened to in your life with the greatest guests and the greatest co-host you've ever heard. This is Love, Death, and Taxes. I want you to hold on to your seats, hold on to your butts, because we've got a amazing topic that Agnes picked out, and we're going to go into why she chose that. Right, Agnes?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
She
So
just
let's start it and let's start talking about it.
all right. So, mutual respect, a two-way street to relationship success. And we're not just talking about your relationship with your significant other. We can talk about relationships with your parents. We could talk about relationships with your children. We could talk about mutual respect in relationships at work, because geez, sometimes that those do not exist. And amongst B2B, amongst business people, all those things happen. Hi, I'm Ryan O'Neill Williams. My lovely co-host is Agnes Amisano. Welcome to Love, Death, and Taxes. Agnes, why did you choose this topic for this week? What happened? Without naming names, what happened why you wanted to talk about mutual respect this week?
Without naming without naming names, I've been hearing this one phrase quite often that start getting under my
Mhm.
skin. I deserve
Okay.
respect. I
All
deserve happiness. I deserve the entitlement. My God, it's like, okay, no one else deserve that. That person deserve it, and why is not giving it to that person? It's just a little bit mind-boggling because
Okay.
I started thinking about that. This is not just about relationships, like male, female relationships, friendships, family relationships, but also at work that has a lot to do with respect because I have been taught that respect is earned, not given. There are certain ways that we do have to, there's certain etiquette that we have to go by. Like you go into um, wherever you go, you have to give respect to another human being. There's that etiquette that you cannot shout, you should not curse, you should behave properly, you should not litter. Uh, it's the normal things
Yeah.
that they are respectful, be respectful to others. I mean, we
Right.
go to church and we're being taught that, you know, treat others the way you want to be treated, right? Which it
That's right.
comes, the first thing that comes into mind is respect.
Yeah. Do
But
unto others as you have them do unto you. That's correct.
yes, but, specifically when I start thinking and I'm thinking, like, my goodness, at the workplace, we are going like I was teaching my son and my cousins, when you go into work you have to dress respectfully, you have to behave respectfully because the way you are, you kind of demand that respect by your behavior. When people see
And
you,
the
you're
way you
not
look.
going, yeah, what's up, exactly, your look is your first business card, right?
Yes.
But then we start thinking more deeply, especially when it comes to the workplace, and specifically people that they're above us, they demand from people, that they are being in charge of. They
Okay.
demand to respect, which is demanding. This is not really respect as of a power over them. Isn't that
Okay.
so? Isn't
It's
it
an
the
interesting.
power trip?
You're talking about the power trip. Now, it's an interesting conversation that you're having because you're talking about someone who you go into the office, and because that person is supposedly your supervisor, or that person is, in some way in the chain above you, in the hierarchy above you, that you're supposed to be doing what they tell you or respecting them because they are whatever they are, whatever rank they have reached in the corporation.
Yeah.
But so to an extent, yes, you're not going to come in and say the same thing to your boss in the same way that you would say it to a colleague who sits beside you, right? You might treat them in a
Yes.
different way. Now, is that earned or is that just expected?
Now that is demanded. It's not
Okay.
expected because
Yeah.
this is a force. This is a power behind it.
Yeah.
You have to
Mhm.
respect me because I give you a paycheck. You have to respect me because I'm your boss.
Okay.
But how can you respect a person who believes in a scam phone calls and asking you to, oh, listen, I just had this phone call that the marshal's going to come and arrest me because I owe taxes. So can you please call this number and check it out? It's like, uh,
I
excuse me,
told,
what?
I told you not to be specific. Now you're getting mad specific. Someone's gonna come and see this, and the next thing you know, I'm laughing. It's like I saw you on your podcast, and your co-host was laughing at me.
Yes, I have to laugh because you expect from a person that has power,
Yes, yes,
and that power usually is given to superiors because either they earned on their merits or with their experience or their education, you
yes,
know. But then usually those people will use their earned power to have power over other people by saying, I demand respect. You have to give me the respect just because but do I really? Do I want to? My respect given, it's for people that they earn my respect. This is just such a conflicted situation because as a person who would work under someone, you want to be polite.
yeah,
I don't have to respect them because they didn't deserve my respect. They didn't earn my respect, but I'll be polite. But I won't allow them because I respect myself. I won't allow them to have power over me.
I mean,
See the correlation between everything.
I hear what you're saying, but in a way, they have. If you're in a workplace relationship, and that person is a superior, is your manager, is your supervisor, is your boss, for whatever reason, or not even your boss, like your boss's boss, whatever it is. To some extent, that person has a certain amount of power over you, but while you can give them respect, you can also not allow them to disrespect you. Because I think that's what you're talking about. I think what you're talking about is not so much that someone, and I've had this happen. I've been at a workplace where my supervisor, my direct supervisor, does not have any idea what I did not understand how to do what I did, and could not sit in my chair and do my job for a day because not only did I have many more years billing and accounting experience over him, but he had actually never managed an office or worked in whatever it is that we were doing at the time. And he would come around expecting me to respect him, and he could not even understand when I was explaining to him a problem. Like I'd say, we have this problem, we need to fix it right now, so and so and so. And he would be asking me the most rudimentary, and I'm sorry, they were, normally people say there's no dumb question. These were dumb questions. And I was like, That doesn't even make sense what you're asking me. It's like you're a person from outside that I just picked up and put in here. You don't even understand the job. Is that what you're telling me? And I have to explain myself to this person, and I had to go above him sometimes to get the work done. I'm going to say above him or her, so that so that if one of my ex-colleagues see this, they don't know who I'm talking about.
Either or, but it's him. But it's okay. Yeah.
I, and the worst is when you had a great relationship with the person before, and then that person leaves, and you have this new person comes in. You give them a little bit of leeway. You say he's new. He just got here. It's the system. But you go through a year of talking to someone who clearly does not understand what it is that we are doing there, and then is demanding that I do this, or is dismissive of what when I raise my hand and say there's a problem. That drives me nuts. They used to drive me nuts. I don't have that problem anymore because I work for myself.
Or, but it's him. Yeah. Okay.
But I used to have that problem. And for those people who still do, because I know you're working at that place and that person is still there, wow. I'm sorry.
No, but see, that's what it is. But like I see it that I won't allow anyone above me at work to have power over me
I see.
because my self-respect would not allow me to do that. I will be polite. I will address the person with respect as a human being,
As much as possible.
although not all of them deserve that, but I will do that because that's the way my mother taught me. I will do my work. I will do my work. I will do my duties. I perform my duties.
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to be harassed at home with phone calls. I'm not
Okay.
going to be imposed with, oh no, you have to do this extra, do that extra. Well, I learned with my life experience that I can tell anything and everything. I can relate the message to a person. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad, with calm tone of voice and using a simple English that I have, that I use, and I will still find a way to relay the message that I'm not going to do what they want me to do. I
Right.
am very protective over my time. If I will allow someone to do that, I have a reason to do it. But just to, oh, because you have to stay because this has to be done. Well, I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to. This is not was that was not the contract that we agree
Right.
upon. So there are ways, and you know what? By standing your ground, by being polite, by showing someone that you do respect yourself, that's one of the ways of of kind of not demanding but earning somebody else's respect. That's one of the
Yes.
ways. There are ways that you can actually um oh, it's commending respect. That's what it
Yes.
is. It's commending.
Yes. That's exactly.
It's,
Exactly.
if you cannot earn somebody, if you cannot earn somebody's respect, you can commend somebody's respect.
Yeah.
So by respecting yourself, you can do that, especially at work, especially at work. By cutting out the qualifiers. If I, my God, I made so many mistakes when I was younger. If you're doing something, so you're trying, just like an attorney, goes to court and it's like, oh, we're doing this. I want to achieve that because in this case, we did, there was past the same thing, and you are trying to find examples of something, or because somebody else did this, so I did that. Well, guess what? With experience, I have learned that I'm gonna do things like, actually, for a couple of my clients, I developed different methods of giving them information to make it easier for them because they could not comprehend for one reason or another. I had
Okay.
one of the clients that when each and every week we had to go from A to Z all over again. Although we finished at that, let's say M last week, so you thought that you could pick that up from M and going forward. No, no, no. You have to go back to A and go over again. Fine. So you do things. You do things. So but see that's one of the things that okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit different than usual to help them help me. So but stop being like everybody else. Um Stop downplaying your successes. If someone, oh, that was great because especially young people, I noticed that oh no, that was nothing. What are you talking about? You work all night on this project. It wasn't nothing. It was a big thing. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to say yes. It was a lot of work. There was a lot of difficulties, but I overcome it, and I came to this conclusion, and it's successful because of me. Don't go around saying I'm the best. I do this. I do that. But when asked, give a right answer nicely without fireworks, but
Yeah, yeah. You
be
don't have to
proud of
toot
yourself.
your own. You don't have to toot your own horn, but you shouldn't make it sound like what you did has no value. Because if it has no value and you just did it, guess what? You're going to be doing it again as soon as they possibly can get you to do it, and they're probably not going to give you overtime the next time.
That's one thing, and if you go and make it look like you can be replaced by a monkey, then a monkey will be doing your job. You
That's
know,
right. That's right. I remember working in a place where there were 15 of us, and one day there were only 8. And it was simply because they believed that those 7 people, their job could be done by the other 8 of us. And it was true. It could be done. It required us every month to work an extra day, like a Saturday or a couple of extra hours, but it could be done because the people who they kept actually were really good at their job. And so it was an interesting thing when they slimmed everything down and got rid of. By the way, that same guy who I was talking about, who was a supervisor, who didn't know nothing else about the job, that's one of the only things that he did know what to do was get rid of people.
yeah, yeah,
Destroyer of worlds.
yes, yes. Also, I noticed that the way you carry yourself, body language. The body
Yes.
language is very important. I noticed one lady whenever she was coming to her boss with whatever she did, she stood there and automatically she started rolling her eyes and she was acting disappointed and like she was expecting the criticism, which usually she got, but she was expecting like you walking in, it's like, "Ah, fine, have it," and like I know you're gonna give it to me with corrections, and it's like, "Mm, why don't you come up with being more assertive, more self-assured, and this is what I did, this is well done, believe in what you did, now like I know I have to redo this, like, and the attitude as well. Also, if you're coming walking in and the first thing you do just gossip about, or start reliving your wild weekend and you're sharing those informations with everybody. You know how that is about around the office. So that's not exactly helpful with commending respect.
No. You know what I'm realizing about you, Agnes? You're almost Jamaican.
I didn't discover that yet in my
Yeah,
DNA, but you never
it
know.
is so wild. You're on the other side of the world in a completely different hemisphere from where you are from, but culturally, you are very similar. I worked in an office once, and there were several Jamaicans there only because one person got in, and then they recommended the friend, and the other friend recommended another friend. And I think I was the last one who got in. But there was a very strict way we as general handled ourselves. I was the youngest, right? So I ended up, moving up in the ranks at the actual firm. But the other people there were very stoic. They did not necessarily want to have the kind of buddy buddy pal relationship with everybody that most people in the office had. And just so you understand, this is the 90s. So there was a lot more informal things happening in the office. In fact, there was a lot of, unfortunately, there was sexual harassment, there was people being rude to one another, there was racism. It was a very different time, right? But it was very clear that the people who had recommended me for the job and got me in as, this cadre of Jamaicans handled themselves in a very different way in the office. And because they respected themselves, everybody else either respected or feared them. And the BS just did not happen. When you could see it happening around you, it did not happen with those people because they would either do one of two things: tell you exactly what their job was, why they were there, how they had been there much longer than you and will continue to be there longer than you, or they would get up and go to their immediate supervisor and explain that this person is making trouble for them. And it's always within, I'm respecting you, but you're not going to come here and disrespect me. It's so interesting that you seem to have a very similar outlook and perhaps a similar problem, because I think when people hear your accent and they think you are other, sometimes they want to look down on you because you're clearly an immigrant or you're from somewhere else. And so that comes like right away, and you almost have to present yourself in a different way. And I think one of the differences was I'm a little more Jamaican than just Jamaican. I've been, back and forth during my life. So I kind of have this where more time you don't hear say mana Jamaican. You're not even know say mana Jamaican, right? So you don't hear it very often, especially if I'm in the office setting. I have to speak in certain words, and most of those words they're not in the vocabulary of patois, right? And
Yeah.
so it's a very interesting thing that you're saying, because I was treated in a different way because of the way, but most of them, they had the accent, but they were not taking any crap off of anybody. It was very interesting. It was an enlightening. And by the way, that was when I had just come to the United States and was going to college, university, and had just come out of high school and was going to university. So it was like a eye-opening thing to see how people treated one another. And again, it's 1990s. We were a little
Back
more casual.
back in 90s, I worked in Canada, and I have to
Mhm.
tell you that between comparison between two countries, I have been feeling more power over because I was different, because I came from different country. Like no one else. I was like the only one immigrant in the company. Like which I wasn't, but everyone else was like already established and I was new. So I always been showed where I should go and what to do, and then the power over. But I did not let people intimidate me, because I would never give them the satisfaction. See, that's what it is, the self-respect that I have for myself, that I
Yes.
know who I am. It took me a while to be where I am, but we all have our learning curve. I would
Yes.
not allow anyone to have power over me. And if I ever in my personal life, or during my work years, I will find myself that that's what is happening. That was no, no, no. That would never continue. That would never continue. That it's just not happening because
All
that would kill me,
right.
kill
So
my soul. That would not happen.
yeah,
If you
here's the
cannot,
thing.
if you cannot
Keep going.
see that I am commenting respect, I would never demand. But I truly
Yeah.
believe that I can find myself in a situation where I can, um, if I'm respecting myself, if I'm being polite and respectful to everybody else as human being, there is no reason to have disrespect
Yeah.
towards me.
No, no. And that's the thing. Like if you respect yourself and you do not tell people things that allows them to disrespect you, then you're in a better place. But sometimes I think there was a lot of oversharing in the office. I specifically remember hearing people tell things, way too many things, and sometimes you would find out things about people in the office through gossip, and you're just like, oh, I really wish I did not know that, because now I see them in a different way. It's simple as that. You just see them in a different way because you have heard it. Now you've got this issue in your office. There's disrespect here and demeaning treatment there or whatever. How do you fix that? I mean, how do you uh, uh, get to the point where everybody has more of mutual respect for the person that they're working for, like fostering a culture of collaboration and trust and inclusivity for everybody, and it's not just, hey, me and my pals, or me and the supervisors and you are the peons.
See, I just to quickly address when you're finding out things about people. I am
Yes.
so, and everyone has their share of finding out things about people, and I have to tell you that I might have got a reaction from me at the first thing, but after that, I am always adopting either to new situation or new surroundings. Like if that's what makes them happy, that's their life. And everyone has different things. Someone else can say that about me. No problem. But we talking, what they do at home, completely their business. If
Should
there's
be.
something, if there is something that they want me to participate in and I'm not up to it,
Yeah.
I will politely decline. I found myself in few situations I politely declined. I'm still
Yes.
friends with those people. I'm still
Okay.
friends with a lot
Yeah.
of people from years. I have some of the girlfriends that they are, well, friendship is over 20 years old. Can you imagine?
Yes. Yes.
And God knows we all went through different upside downs. But
Okay.
at work, there are, if something you see that there is not going your way and you feel disrespected, address that politely, but address it. Call the meeting. I did that. Call the meeting because someone was making way too many sexual jokes. That was years ago. Thinking that they're showing me that they like me
Yes.
and
They yeah,
yeah,
they
that
think it's some sort of positive thing. They don't realize that if it is unwanted and it is in an inappropriate setting, I don't want to hear that. I don't
yeah,
want to come into the copier room and have you comment on my rear end while I'm, photocopying stuff. I don't want that. And that's real life. That's something that's happened. Okay?
yeah,
Don't need that.
yeah.
Um uh actually, wow, can I even talk about this? Yes, I can talk about it. I worked at a firm. I worked at a firm where we had to go through this again in the 90s. Um, we had to go through sexual harassment training because there was there was an accusation in the office. What an interesting time to talk about this, because if you know what's going on with P. Diddy and the
Yes,
plane,
yes,
whatever,
yes.
it's an interesting time to talk about this. But yeah, we had this firm, and literally people would just say whatever came out of their mouths. They would say whatever they want, and especially amongst like the support staff, there was, I have to say, one of the bosses was one of the most stoic, most honorable. He used to be in the Navy. Oh snap! No, I'm telling way too much. But he was an amazing man and lovely man. And most of his, cohorts were, but some of the people were a problem. And it got to the point where, yeah, they had to call in a person and explain to us like all the rules. You cannot take someone out who is um, if you're their superior, you can't take them out to dinner. You can take them out to lunch for something for the office, but you can't take them out to dinner. There are certain comments that are just not allowed. There are certain looks and behaviors and different gestures that just weren't allowed, and they had to actually tell us that. And it's an interesting thing where 30 years on, you are talking to me about this, but it's clear that there's still some people in the office who do not know those rules or did not know those rules. The day after they told us that, and we all had very, very, we had a come to Jesus moment amongst that staff and changed our behavior. Sometimes we would sit in the room, the lunchroom, and just talk about how those things bothered us. I found out that many of the women that I worked with were stalked. They were talking about how much they were harassed, not just at work, but like in general out in the world, that I had no idea about because I was a young man at the time. I really did not know how much women had gone through or were going through on a regular basis. I mean, this is right about the time that Clarence Thomas and Nita Hill had that issue.
Yeah.
And so we literally were one of the first cases that had it, and in the actual office. And it was absolutely amazing to see how people change their behavior towards one another simply because the rules were laid down. And one attorney, well, you guys know I work with lawyers. One attorney was actually designated as the person who everybody should go to tell them if they had an issue. Now, personally, I thought that was the worst choice that they had chosen, but whatever. It's beside the point. But they actually had a person. So that person, when you saw them walking down the hallway, you'd be like, oh, okay, but, behave yourself. You know what I mean? But in general, that conversation that day from the attorneys completely, from the, we had an advisor who came in, and he was an attorney, and that's what he advised us about, which is wild because it was a law firm full of attorneys, but this guy came in and this was his specific HR duty and explained it to me. I'm realizing we hit the 33-minute mark, and I'm really excited about this and talking about this, and we're like in the workplace talking about mutual respect in the workplace, and we haven't even gotten to the second part, which is mutual work, blah, blah, blah. Mutual respect in a relationship with a significant other.
Yeah.
So that is what we'd like to go to next. I hope you guys stick to this for part 2, which will probably show up next week. Agnes, how you doing? You good?
Great. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So stay tuned for the next part next week.